Arise.
Hey, honeys. Let's take a moment to chat, shall we? This is actually my very first time making a recap video, so I'd really appreciate your feedback. If you notice anything missing or feel something could be better, feel free to let me know in the comments. Honestly, I'm not sure if I'll be making more parts. Writing scripts takes a lot of time, but who knows? We'll see how it goes. Anyway, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and without further ado, let's jump right in. Social media was abuzz with reports that 1.8 billion people had been taken to another world. However, within just 3 months, that number had reportedly dwindled to only 90 million. Concerns grew over the economic crisis that loomed due to the massive loss of the younger generation. Nation schools were closing, you can read the rest. In an unknown location, a fatty was sitting reading the news, his clothes and axe stained with blood. He looked annoyed, muttering about how it was only the fourth round. Yet so many had already died, calling them useless bastards. According to reports, the death toll had surged unexpectedly in the fourth round, with thousands of CCTV cameras destroyed, plunging the city into lawlessness. Players united against the government had formed a community. As a result, public anxiety was growing. You can read the rest. A smirk appeared on Fatty's face, as he thought to himself that if others had become players, they would have done the same. Gripping his axe, he slipped his phone into his pocket and stood up. "What's wrong with doing what we want before we die?" he muttered, cursing under his breath, while saying that's why they shouldn't have put them in so much pressure with so many rules and restrictions. He clenched his axe and swung it down with force, shattering the ground beneath him. The anger they had been suppressing was exploding. He took a deep breath and calmed himself, saying it doesn't matter, because there was no one who could stand in his way. With an arrogant grin, he declared himself as a player superior to anyone else. The room around him was littered with corpses, yet he only laughed. "Who should I kill next?" he mused aloud. Despite feeling a hint of nervousness, he was thrilled. It was the first time he had killed someone in reality, and the experience was different from what he had imagined. Strangely, he felt nothing. He assumed it was because he had already taken lives during the fourth round. This was simply an extension of that. He felt somewhat disappointed, having only gained 1 stack per person. All those he had killed so far were mere civilians, offering little in return. In his mind, the fourth round had been far more efficient than hunting monsters, especially since it had rewarded him with a new rune called Absorption. You can read the effect yourself, I ain't reading that. Then he pushed open the door, feeling kinda anxious. He wanted to kill players instead, as they would provide him with greater stacks. With curious look, he pulled out his phone, recalling the existence of a new forum specifically for players. Suddenly, an ugly grin appeared when the idea of joining the community of players to kill players came to his mind, since he'll get many more stacks that way. Wasting no time, he opened the forum, and you can read the requirements to join as well. Fatty was somewhat annoyed. Not only did he have to provide his personal information, but he also had to go through an interview. Despite his frustration, he filled out the forum, knowing this was the only way he could meet other players. He felt confident. After all, no one would suspect that a player was out there hunting other players. Next day, following the instructions, he arrived at a cafe in Wabu, Namyangju, dressed in casual clothes. According to the interviewer's message, he glanced at the sign. It read, "Hello Cafe." Impatience began to creep in as he thought to himself, they had called him to such a remote place where even buses didn't pass. As he stepped inside, he entertained the thought of killing the interviewer if they got on his nerves. To his surprise, the cafe's interior was much nicer than he had expected. At one of the tables, 2 people were deep in conversation. One had green hair, and the other was wearing a hoodie. They appeared to be the only customers. Noticing Fatty's arrival, the man stood up and asked, "Are you the one interviewing for PCW?" Fatty nodded. As the man walked over, he asked, "What's your username?" Without hesitation, Fatty responded, "Black Flame Dragon." The two shook hands before the man introduced himself as the interviewer, along with his username. Fatty looked astonished. "You're a player too?" he asked. The interviewer chuckled and nodded before gesturing toward the other person at the table. "This is Little Cockle," he explained. "The two of you might end up as teammates, so why don't you greet each other?" Fatty greeted the other player, who returned the gesture. However, in his mind, he scoffed, thinking, a weakling like him is a player too? Typical NPCs. Taking a seat, Fatty glanced around the room. The cafe was empty, except for them. Business doesn't seem to be booming," he remarked, noting the lack of customers and staff. With an ugly smile, the interviewer responded, "Yeah, it's pretty far from the city. That's why we rented this place." Fatty's curiosity was piqued. "Where's the owner?" he asked. The interviewer remained calm as he explained, This cafe also serves food. The owner is in the kitchen preparing meals. Fatty grew intrigued and carefully scanned his surroundings. His gaze locked onto little Cockle. Noticing the absence of cameras, he realized he could kill both of them and escape without anyone ever knowing. However, he quickly dismissed the thought. This was an opportunity too valuable to waste on just 2 kills. Seconds passed, he asked, "Aren't we going to start the interview?" The interviewer smiled. "We're waiting for one more person. We'll begin once they arrive." Fatty asked calmly, "So, there are 3 of us?" Just then, a man dressed in a black suit approached the cafe. The interviewer's gaze immediately fixed on him. "Be patient," he told Fatty before turning his full attention to the newcomer. As the man entered, the interviewer stood up and nervously asked, "Are you here for the interview?" He answered affirmatively. "Your username?" the interviewer asked. "Black Scythe," the man replied. Upon hearing the name, the interviewer's eyes lit up with excitement. He covered his mouth with his hand, unable to hide his admiration. A few days earlier, an online meeting was being held. The president, a man with glasses, welcomed everyone. All members were present, except Jam. Without delay, Glasses Guy officially began the meeting for the 3rd week of April. Turning to one of the participants, he called out, "Lost Yark, how many new members have joined the forum this week?" he asked. "Around 2,000, Lost Yark replied. Glasses Guy smiled and said, "That's more than last week." Clearly pleased, Lost Yark added, "The number of players kept decreasing each month, but the number of members kept growing each week. I'm sure the article about us helped bring more people in." Curious, Glasses Guy asked, "Who hired the journalist?" Yamti said it was her. Glasses Guy looked surprised. He didn't know she had connections in that field. She simply replied that it was a new connection. Glasses praised her before turning back to Lost Yark. "Out of the 2,000 new members, how many are actually skilled?" he asked. Lost Yark answered, "If we exclude players without a class, and those under level 10, we have around 1,200. Curious, Glasses followed up. "And how many of them are actually useful?" At that moment, Second Glasses Guy took out a tablet and decided to talk about it. He brought up the outstanding player, Black Flame Dragon. "He's just an ordinary level 10 warrior," he explained, "but he placed 3rd in his zone." Glasses Guy, deep in thought. To reach 3rd place, he must either have a strong rune or is lying about his abilities. Second Glasses Guy mentioned he was good enough to be chosen as an executive. Glasses Guy said, "That's true. Anyone else?" Second Glasses Guy responded, "Another notable player is Little Cockle. He consistently ranks between 4th and 10th place in his zone. Aside from those 2, there are around 50 others who have placed within the top 100 in their respective zones." Glasses Guy smiled excitedly, realizing he would be busy with interviews. He then turned to my age 30, who was dozing off. Startled, the man quickly straightened up and muttered an apology, looking pissed. "What were you doing last night that you're falling asleep now?" he asked, unimpressed. "Don't give me excuses. You're handling 50 interviews by next month." His voice turned sharp as he added, "If you fail, a high-level candidate will take your place." Nervously, my age 30 said, "Understood." Turning back to Lost Yark, Glasses Guy asked, "Have you made contact with Black Scythe?" Glancing at his phone, Lost Yark responded, "I would have informed you immediately if I had." Glasses Guy sighed. "If he joined, I would have given him an executive position on the spot." "Such a shame." He asked Yami if she could ask that journalist to write more articles, since he believed they needed better marketing to increase their chances of persuading Black Scythe to join them. With a smile, Yami replied, "Of course, as long as the pay is there. I don't know if the translators have messed up her name. They changed it to Yami here." Glasses Guy responded with smile, "Don't worry about that. There will be a reward." Yami couldn't help but feel pleased and thanked him. Just as they were about to move on to the next topic, Lost Yark suddenly looked surprised. "Wait," he said, turning to Glasses Guy. "Someone just sent a request to join the forum." Glasses Guy asked. "Who?" Lost Yark responded nervously. "Black Scythe." This revolution left everyone in the room shocked. Back to the present. The interviewer shook Black Scythe's hand with a smile. "Was it difficult to get here?" he asked. Black Scythe responded it was. Upon hearing this, the interviewer nervously apologized. "This was the best location we could find for privacy," he explained. Gesturing toward an empty seat, he signaled for Black Scythe to sit down. He also noticed he was handsome and playfully joked. He must be popular with the girls. Pulling out a chair for him, the interviewer added, "These 2 are also here for the interview, just like you." Fatty, upon laying eyes on Black Scythe, clenched his teeth in frustration, while Little Cockle hesitantly offered a quiet hello. Black Scythe arrogantly introduced himself in return. Meanwhile, our boy, his eyes gleaming with mischief, smiled and introduced himself as Little Cockle, while thinking what a funny bastard. And that's all for today. I'll make part 2 if this video hits 50 likes. It's possible, right? Also, how was the voice? Should I stick with it or try different voice? Let me know what you think in the comments. Alright, no more rambling. See you maybe in the next video. And have a great day, afternoon, or night. Bye-bye.